Hello and welcome to week 2. This week you will be reading short stories from authors such as Shirley Jackson, Franz Kafka, Kurt Vonnegut, and Flannery O'Connor. One of the things that I want you to note when you read The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka is that I only want you to read part 1. Kafka's The Metamorphosis, we're going to read that over the next couple of weeks. So this week in your discussion board post, you won't have direct questions on The Metamorphosis, but I want you to start reading. But all of the other stories, Shirley Jackson's The Lottery, along with Kurt Vonnegut's Harrison Bergeon and Flannery O'Connor's Revelation, I want you all to read those stories and answer the questions in the discussion board post. And a couple of the ideas that you're going to be working with in relationship to those short stories this week will be terms such as satire, terms such as theme, and we're going to continue to work with this idea of active reading and supporting your main point. So in particular, when you read Kurt Vonnegut's Harrison Bergeon, there's a section right after the story in an interview that Vonnegut does about talking about science fiction. And after that interview, the writers also describe how to identify and how to support your understanding of the main theme of a story. So if a theme, what I'm trying to get you all in the habit of doing is that when you think about the theme of a piece of fiction, i.e. a short story, a novel, a film, the theme of a piece of fiction is like a thesis statement in a research paper. So I want to get our feet wet and start talking about how to identify the central theme in fiction so that we can make a smooth transition in developing thesis statements as we move on throughout the upcoming weeks. Along with the fiction that you'll be reading, you'll also be viewing a YouTube clip on best research practices. So as a reminder, the 112 is focused on how to do research. So I know that that can be a scary term sometimes. And so what we're going to do this semester is that we're going to break it up into small chunks. We're going to learn about some of the fundamentals of research, just like last week we learned about active reading. So as you all go into your future classes, you're going to always have to do some form of critical reading, interpretive analysis, and then use that information to support what it is that you're saying in some sort of research format, whether it be a traditional research paper or a short sort of research analysis. So the thing that we're going to focus on this week is that we're going to focus on a few general sort of tips on how to find pieces of information online and how to be critical about the things that you find so that you can build your sort of approach to identifying and using, information literacy. So in that YouTube clip, the speaker will describe certain things that you can look for in Wikipedia pages, how to identify scholarly sources, how to think about things such as subjectivity. So what that means is that there's an example where if you get an article and the writer just keeps using, well, I think this, I think that, I think this, but it's not supported by anything, then that piece of writing would be subjective. And it would be more so opinionated. So as a researcher, you would not want to necessarily cite from that person. But that does not necessarily mean that you can't learn from that article. So as we continue throughout this semester, we're going to keep talking about how to evaluate and how to sort of critically analyze information that you come across online. Because as you move beyond the 112 level, you're going to have to be able to decipher and analyze information at a much higher level post this class. So for this week, along with your discussion board post number 2, you're also going to have to go back to discussion board post number 1 and you're going to have to respond to one of your peers' discussion board posts. So get into the habit that you're not just writing for me anymore, that you're writing for all of all of your comrades in the class. All right. So keep in mind when you think that, when you're thinking about writing, you want to keep your audience in mind. That I'm not just your audience, but your fellow comrades, your classmates are your audience as well. And that all comes back to this idea of the rhetorical situation, which considers your audience, your purpose. It considers how you're writing it. So, you delivering a writing piece through the discussion board post would probably be a little bit different than you handing in a hard copy, sort of formal research paper. Even when we think about when the rhetorical situation, we also want to think about the tone of the writing. And this comes back to your audience. So in this situation, we are an academic community. That when we support each other's ideas. So in relationship to that, you don't want to, use slang. You don't want to use colloquial speech. You want to consider this as academic, formal, written work, which is going to influence your tone or the mood, your feeling, the attitude in your writing. So these are the things I want you to continue to think about and think about more and more as you embark on the discussion board posts. As you all go back through the discussion board post number 1, I'll be going through your discussion board post number 1, and I'll be providing feedback. So look for that within the upcoming week. Again, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, do not hesitate to send me an email or post to the discussion board with your questions. But until then, happy reading, happy writing, and I will see you in cyberspace.